Alright everyone, we start off today talking about Amazon and the interplay between Amazon actually and the political establishment. It's really funny because normally you don't bite the hand that feeds you, and Amazon has funded a lot of Congress very well, but I guess Facebook has more lobbyists now, and so it's allowed to go after Amazon, and that's probably why they're softballing Zuckerberg. I don't kid you, the fact that Facebook is now, I think, the largest lobbyer of the US government could really have something to do with this. Amazon should probably step up its game. It's sad that this has to happen, but right now, the MSM is livid about the troll army that Amazon hired. I'll try to pick apart the linguistic propaganda of this because, of course, one person's troll is another person's paid activist. One person's shill is just another person's poster that happens to be getting paid per click. China does this all the time. The Air Force has like 10,000 sock accounts on Facebook, and that was back at the end of the 2000s. I remember that report clear as day because that was like in the Zeitgeist era when I was even arguably more anti-government in some senses. Anyway, before we get into this and how fucking funny it is, probably you should take a look at the pinned comment if you're watching this video on YouTube. Keep in mind, YouTube now openly abuses all independent content creators if their main thing is news and analysis. Doesn't even matter if you're right-wing, left-wing, libertarian, maybe you're even a fascist. It doesn't really matter. If you don't have a priority label, which means you're not a multi-million-dollar corporate brand with an exclusive show on YouTube Plus or something, you're being demoted. Simply because in search results and related videos they are favored, it's essentially discrimination. It's how affirmative action works, actually. They're not demoting you directly, they're just promoting all of your competitors in your place. Well, it's a de facto demotion of your content. Really shouldn't be happening. It's a form of soft editorialization that openly violates 230, but we'll get past that now because, of course, I'm on those other sites that don't do that to me and, in fact, reward me for my efforts. Wonderful. Anyway. Leftists are really upset right now. And by leftists, I mean like the U.S. soft left, like Bernie and Warren. Career politicians, scumbags, corporate sellout hacks, most of which are very wealthy. It's funny because Elizabeth Warren probably has like her own vineyard. Yeah, she talks about how progressive she's going to be for poor people. It's sort of like Al Sharpton's going to fight for white rights today. Norman Lincoln Rockwell is going to fight for black pride or something. It's sort of the same dynamic. They're dogpiling Amazon. They've been doing this for months. And it's very funny because if you talk to like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, all these people, Amazon is pure evil when it's making money. If it's burning books digitally by removing them from stores because they have taboo or politically out there content, then it's either tolerated or applauded. So a corporation doing what corporations literally exist to do, which is make a profit, that is evil. By the way, this shows why leftist economics don't work. Bernie Sanders is angry at Amazon for making a lot of money. Has he said even one thing about Amazon breaking 230 to editorialize, publish content that is not, even in some cases against its own TOS, certainly not illegal? Nope, not one word. Same with all these other sites, and I'm getting a sneaking suspicion. Hear me out. Think this is conspiratorial all you want. Did you see a couple of days ago when they put out the list of top firms that were lobbying Congress and Facebook was number one and Amazon I don't think is even on the list or way down it? Could this explain the differential in why Zuckerberg's monopoly is softballed and they call him in for congressional testimony but they never hardball him, they never put him under oath, same with Dorsey. They're always lobbying. Bezos, meanwhile, says, fuck you, essentially, doesn't lobby, and then gets hardballed for essentially the same behavior. I find that funny. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Zuckerberg basically is paying off Congress to ignore his monopoly. Bezos thinks that he's big for his britches. He may find differently, and that could be, for Amazon, a big problem down the road. I think it's great that Amazon makes money. I think their POD service is fantastic, to tell the truth. Having worked or attempted to work with brick and mortar publishers, it's a long, strenuous, difficult, convoluted process. It's much easier for anyone with reasonable talent who knows how to edit their own works to use Amazon. I realize they take an excessive cut. I realize that it harms small bookstores, or can, depending on the situation. I don't begrudge Bezos the ability to make money. It's the editorialism that I have a problem with. That being said, when Amazon hires thousands of trolls to attack its critics and defend it online, okay, so it's doing what a million other corporations do. This has been done before in many cases. I would say the major difference is that mainly the criticism of Amazon we're seeing, it's not, hey, the local bookstore went out of business. Hey, their shipping center came in and they're not letting people unionize or whatever. We have a big problem. It's not coming from like grassroots people other than the cringe fringe of the left on like Twitter and stuff. It's coming from politicians. You have U.S. politicians literally threatening a profitable U.S. business that they made more profitable in and of themselves through their lockdowns. When they talk about Bezos, Sanders says this, Jeff Bezos made an insane amount of money over the last year. He increased his net worth by $18 billion or some crazy amount like that you can't even fathom. They think that they want to portray to their lemming fans that Jeff Bezos has a silo full of gold coins and Benjamins, and he tunnels around in it like Scrooge McDuck. That's not what net worth means, and Amazon has tried to point this out, although maybe more bluntly. They definitely need to hire someone who's more of a wordsmith to word their tweets in defense of themselves, because it would go over better. I don't know who's running the account, but you could get somebody who's a little bit more cerebral, perhaps, to do that. Net worth and cash on hand aren't the same. Net worth and the amount of money you made. When you're talking about, oh, he increased his net worth by $18 billion, how much of that is actually cash or a yacht or something, and how much of that is investment that he got because all the smaller competitors were shuttered? Some of them still are. There are parts of the United States right now where you can't really go to the store. Only the big chain stores are allowed to be open. You remember one of the most stupid and evil things that was done in some states at the start of this pandemic was that they told all the stores you have to close down. You're not even allowed to open at any capacity. If you do, there's so many restrictions, it's not profitable unless you fire everyone and do it yourself, essentially, and turn the lights off and shit. No refrigerators running. Grocery stores and restaurants are fucked. They told them to close, but they said to Walmart, you can remain open as long as you cordon off the area with the essential items. So the multinational trillion-dollar corporation is capable of continuing to sell things. Not necessarily at a huge profit, but they're in brownout mode. Everyone else is in blackout mode. Well, the Postal Service wasn't really a thing. You disrupted global shipping to a huge extent, which meant Amazon had to put up more distribution centers because it had the assets and investment to do so, and so it profited. There were no competitors. Who's going to compete with Amazon if all the local bookstores are closed because the government has mandated them to close? Where are people getting their books? They're ordering them online. They can't even travel to the next state where things are open. They're not allowed to travel outside of their home, maybe on odd days or only from 8 to 10 p.m. or something without getting a ticket. Congress created Amazon's wealth for it. And now they have a big problem with it. Jeff Bezos shouldn't be so wealthy. It's like when Bernie Sanders spends months rambling about his idiot wealth tax. Essentially what he's saying is he wants elements of these companies that are at the top to go bankrupt. I have no problem with them being split up because of anti-competitive practices, but if it weren't for the government enabling that, if it weren't for the government ignoring 230's basic underpinnings, they never would have become monopolies to begin with. Smaller competitors wouldn't be repeatedly deplatformed. These same people in power are constantly attacking alt tech. They are constantly attacking any upstart, any rival to these big tech firms, and then they begrudge them the wealth that they've gotten. In some cases, these big tech firms own half of Congress. They're still not happy. They just want to embezzle more and more money from the American people, often through private companies like that. So what you call a troll army, I'm sure Bezos or a more cerebral person would say, hey, yeah, we've got these part-time employees that we pay to defend us from your defamation. To point out, the same people that made the tax code begrudge us using the tax code. The same people that literally shuttered half of our competitors begrudge us to take the place of those competitors because there's a massive economic vacuum at the time. Congress did it. The U.S. government and the states did it. It didn't happen in a vacuum. Jeff Bezos didn't wave some evil magic wand like a dark warlock with crows and bats flying around at midnight and demons dancing around on top of some spire, some pinnacle somewhere out in the woods. He didn't practice evil necromancy and sacrifice a bunch of people and drink the blood and give himself more money. The government did that. The same government that is jumping down his throat, and they've done this to other companies too. I notice that you don't hear much about the unionization thing a la Walmart. That's been a thing for decades and decades, but Bernie Sanders is single-mindedly focused on the one company absent from the top rung of that lobbying list. What a progressive. I'm not surprised that Amazon would attempt to defend, like when Amazon's Twitter page, for example, when they go after Warren, she threw a bitch fit. She threw a spoiled, self-entitled hissy fit and started talking about, oh, you're making snotty tweets and we're going to stop you. We're going to break you up and make sure this could never happen again. How much money did you get from Bezos, Elizabeth? Probably quite a bit. Not this Elizabeth. She didn't get paid off by Jeff Bezos. Elizabeth Warren is just a corporate cronyist crook, pretending to be a progressive. She swung way to the left during the primaries. You'll notice she's deviated from that a little bit now. She's complaining because she got called out for repeatedly harassing and abusing a U.S. company. And I'm saying this as someone who's desperately anti-monopolistic. But the problem is this. The left will say, well, we hate these monopolies. They're so abusive. Let them editorialize, and the way forward is to break them apart and tax them more. No, it's not. The way forward is get government out of the way and just enforce the underpinning of 230 so that the editorialism goes away and smaller competitors aren't repeatedly abused by the legal system. You go after small businesses all the time. The government constantly headhunts and hyper-regulates small businesses that simply don't have the resources to fight legal battles. The federal government's frivolous lawsuits against small and regional chains causes more economic damage than anything else in the country. Because they did their taxes wrong. They left out this one number. We're going to force them into bankruptcy by suing them for 10 years at a time. Look at what they're doing to the library right now, to Odyssey's parent company. The SEC is breathing down their throats and has been for several years now as part of an investigation into securities a la crypto. What does it do to cite a company like Amazon? By the way, another thing, it's bluster. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and all these others, they know they're not going to do jack shit to Amazon, because there are too many people in Congress that do still get paid off by these companies. They're not going to do anything. They're virtue signaling. They want brownie points. They want attention. Oh my god, Amazon has a troll army. Look, all of these other corporations do the same fucking goddamn thing. It's just that you're not forcing the MSM to propagandize against them with a mirror focus. That's basically the only difference. Did Bezos... at the last Illuminati shareholder meeting, did Jeff Bezos just say, I'm kind of out with it. I don't really care. I got all this money. I'm going to do my own thing. I ignore the Illuminati council or something. Now they've decided to break his spine or whatever. Maybe. Anyway, these people are all sick and insane anyway. I mean, questioning of corporate power as though I am state power is arguably still considerably more abusive in nature. That's about all. Peace out.